Everybody, welcome back to the NC State Insider Podcast. I'm your host and lead beat writer, Tucker Sennett, and I want to discuss how NC State's latest win over Virginia Tech impacts their standing in the NCAA tournament. It's that time of year, folks. Every win matters, every loss matters, and this was a big one for a Wolfpack team that essentially has to win every, not, sorry, that needs as many wins as it can get, not necessarily because it's at risk of missing the tournament, but to give itself the best possible chance to be a second weekend team come March. Will Wade's goals when he arrived at NC State were to turn this team into a top four contender in the conference. NC State is squarely in the mix. They're 9-2 in conference play after this win. State's right there with the top of the pack. They have a win over Clemson, which I believe is in second place right now. And they have a leg up on some of these teams behind them, but they play a lot of the best teams in the conference the rest of the way. So it's going to come down to finding ways to get big wins on the road, um, over the next couple of weeks, starting on Monday against Louisville. But really, it's just win as many games as you possibly can to put yourself in the best possible position to get some credit from the committee for having a successful conference season. Virginia Tech, or win over Virginia Tech, did just that. This was a solid game from NC State. They played really, really high level defense in the first half. It's likely going to be their ninth quadrant two victory, barring Virginia Tech either the bottom falling out under them or they make a sudden rise and get a bunch of wins here down the stretch and somehow turn this into a quadrant one victory for NC State. I don't really see that happening, but in terms of the quadrant one success, quadrant two success, NC State's doing pretty well. They've pushed that Q1 record to 3-4 with some help from some other teams. Texas is sort of surging here in the SEC. Auburn is playing well. Kansas obviously playing well, and Virginia still playing at a high level in the ACC. So NC State's in fairly good standing there. That Seton Hall loss hurts a little bit, but they're still, a quality quadrant two team in there in the mix there. And then in terms of the quadrant one wins, NC State's got three of them: Clemson, Wake Forest on the road, and SMU on the road. We'll see how long that Wake Forest win lasts as a Q1 before it likely dips into Q2 based on what's happening with them. But according to bracketologist.com, which is sort of a guesstimator on what the net will look like, NC State is projected to move up a spot. We will see, what happens there, but I would imagine they'll move up a little bit here after this win the over the Hokies. And in terms of seed lines, things of that nature, NC State kind of came into this game as a consensus or semi-consensus 8 seed, but trending toward being a 7 seed, which I think is, the right direction. Joe Lunardi of ESPN has them as a 7 seed currently. We will see if they can play to an even higher ceiling than that. But I think at the end of the day, Will Wade's focus is on getting this team in the top four of the ACC before worrying about the NCAA tournament. And that's going to be a challenge because NC State has some serious competition coming down the pipe. You still have to play at Louisville on Monday, a ranked opponent. Then you're facing a Miami team that's going to be equally desperate to Virginia Tech in terms of clawing off the bubble. Then you face North Carolina. That's obviously a big one. You're at Virginia, you're at Notre Dame, Duke, and Stanford to finish the year. So really, one, two, three, four, 5 games against teams that are, I would say, more likely than not going to be in the NCAA tournament. And then Stanford is a long shot, but they've proven that they can be really, really good against some of the best teams in the country. They beat North Carolina already. So they're a total wild card. That's not an easy game. I don't think that's a game that Will Wade wishes was coming at the end of the year when things could be like semi-decided in terms of standings. But all in all, NC State is positioning itself well. And, things are going to continue moving here the rest of Saturday in terms of KenPom, things of that nature, some of the various metric systems. I know NC State dropped a spot in the KenPom after that loss. I don't think I think they'll probably end up moving back up eventually today. We'll see what happens with some of these other teams in front of them. But so it basically comes down to somebody losing. Alabama could lose tonight and drop. We'll see what happens there. I apologize. This is probably going to come out after those results happen, but NC State hasn't lost any standing in terms of, what it's doing from a metric standpoint. It's more just what's happening around them. And I think the time to worry about wins and losses by X amount has sort of passed for State. I think they've done a good enough job to avoid that being an issue. And I know the net takes that all into account, but they're beating teams by what they should beat them by. And that's going to be important in a few weeks here because that all that stuff matters. But at the same time, I think you just got to find ways to get wins and you let the chips fall where they may. That's kind of as simple as I can put it. And this upcoming stretch is going to just be about winning games. And if you can't win games, you do your best to keep them close, keep those stats happy. They kind of did that against Virginia already, but all in all, really, really impressed with the trajectory of this team as it currently stands. Things can change quickly in the ACC. Things happen. This team has dealt with inconsistency all season long. So we'll see if this is sustainable. This is the longest win streak of the season, 6 in a row. But all in all, again, really, really impressed with the trajectory here and where this team could go. Really appreciate you all tuning into the NC State Insider podcast. As always, feel free to follow me on social media. You can find me at Senate Tucker on X. You can also follow the website on X at Wolfpack on SI. And of course, subscribe to the Sports Videos on SI YouTube channel for daily episodes of the NC State Insider podcast. See you next time.